Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. Big updates on roster mania going down last night, especially what NRG are potentially up to. Rumours as to their fourth player have now emerged as of yesterday, definitely an expected one here. But what about their fifth player on the roster? Rumours emerging, they still haven't quite locked down who their duelist is going to be for the team, despite Demon1, maybe even Durka being in the conversation over there. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, just a couple of things here from Cammy, talking about hoping to, maybe get a coaching role over at GE. Of course, there's been talk what Global Esports and other organisations certainly out there may well be up to in the new year. A couple of quick things on Ascension. This is EMEA kicking off again, of course, today. They spent a few days away just getting ready, basically. But yeah, today is the lower final to determine who is going to play Apex in the grand final tomorrow, which will then determine who your champion of EMEA Ascension is going to be and which team is going to qualify, of course, for the main EMEA region next year. This is China. The group stages are nearly at a conclusion. We have the two, basically number one seeds from the respective groups, Rare Atom being among them there. So no real surprise. But yeah, they're going to get from 4 down to, well, basically from 8 down to 4. And then after that, they're going to have the playoffs in a couple of days' time, concluding on the 21st of September. This is what's been going on in the Americas. Very interesting last night because TSM, they play a couple of games coming soon. But M80, they just crept over the line against this Brazilian team Glorious, who will be really kicking themselves that they've not managed to win at least one series, because their team is clearly talented. They just lose close games every single time. And look at this, they're 2-6 map count, but they're only -6 in round count, despite being 0-3. So their story could have been so different so far, and if they still win their final 2 games, it's not necessarily over yet. But very interesting. M80, however, do advance to 3-0, and I think that is the first real statement from M80 that with all the other matches going various different ways and with different strengths of certain teams against other teams, M80, the favourites really for the tournament, they are still getting the job done in the group stages, and because they're 3-0, that is going to guarantee them nicely through to the playoffs, really, that, as I say, start 18th of September, concluding on the 21st in this similar way. So they're going to get a nice seed based on their results so far. Of course, they're going to want to continue that as well going onwards. Of course, TSM, potentially another favourite. If M80 beat them, then TSM are in a very difficult position to even make it to the playoffs. And yeah, this was that result. But it was a crazy series again. I mean, Kuala Lumpur had a phenomenal one. Luxo on the other side had a great one as well. Definitely a player that people have talked about being a real talent. And we definitely saw that in this series. They lost the Icebox on their pick 13-11. They then won it back on the Sunset 13-11 the other way. Then Haven was an overtime 14-12. So a grueler series. One of the best you're going to see, really. And yeah, M80 in the end, they just about get over the line. Couple of mentions. I guess I'll just talk about that player real quick, because people were mentioning this Luck guy for some time now. And, we saw that he's had some great performances individually as of late. So definitely one to keep your eyes on. There's also talk about the likes of 1010 signing a contract somewhere or another. So we'll have to stay tuned for that. Loads of things happening right now, but especially on Heretics as well. They confirmed that Boo, of course, their in-game leader for the roster, he is going to be staying around till at least 2026. This is something that Heretics do quite like to do, sign players on longer-term deals if they can, and definitely I think from the Heretics side, they had a great season. It's not clear that they can really upgrade or do better, of course. Like in the end, Edward Gaming were just a bit too strong. But yeah, even Nicholas here says, general manager of VALORANT over there at Heretics, that sources say this is the roster, which is the same roster. Boo's now confirmed a longer-term deal. Rians and Woot, Mini Boo, Benji Fishy not going anywhere. So and then of course the coaching staff that they've put together as well. So basically they're saying, yeah, we're going to stick the roster together. Makes a lot of sense. They improved over the course of the season in some respect as well, and potentially they can get even better. And there's no clear upgrade you're going to make in any of those positions. It just makes too much sense to keep that roster true. Let's talk about NRG as well. As Era says, crazy to think that it's Ethan, Som, Tex, EU and Hayes team just didn't do especially well, although those players now have, in hindsight, got on to do rather good things on the various teams that they have been a part of over the last couple of years. But now NRG have to put together another roster, and as of last night, the latest rumor is that Verno will be coming in to the team. So Verno, of course, phenomenal player for Gen Esports over the last season or so, played with head coach Bonka, who we're pretty sure is now going to be coming over to NRG as well as their new head coach instead of Chet. That's the latest rumor. That's what we think might potentially happen. And to be honest, I thought Verno was a consideration anyway for this NRG roster, especially with Bonka there. It just makes way too much sense. So apparently this is now not a done deal, but there's a verbal agreement reached where Verno will come in alongside FNS, Som, and presumably Ethan. We know that Crashies is gone, Victor is long gone. The question is, what are they going to do elsewhere on their roster? Who else might they potentially bring in? And who's going to round out their team? That's the big debate. So Chet was on stream yesterday, wanted to just share what FNS has to say in the background, because Chet's no longer working with the roster, but FNS implies, look, they're going to start screwing properly when they have a fifth player. They don't have that quite yet. So there's clearly still a role potentially to be fulfilled. It may be Demon1, it may be somebody else.
This time there will be a...
When do you guys start pragging?
Will be a bot set up in mid here for...
like prac? When we have 5 players.
Like trial prag.
Xander this time has opted to really...
tomorrow? Day after?
Tomorrow. That's fun.
Here by Maurice.
Tomorrow.
Trailblazer gets through. Checking those close angles, finds them to be bereft of any defenders. But Xander's already opted to pull.
So if you're NRG, what do you do to round out the roster, right? Do you bring Demon1 back? Is that the way to go? And just round out the roster as follows with, you know, Ethan and obviously Victor and Crashies are gone, but bring in Verno to the roster, Som and FNS stay, and then Demon1 closes it out. Or is there better options out there, right? I mean, Demon1's such a talented player, but, you know, there's obviously been talk about his effectiveness on various different roles, whether there are other options that could be worth considering out there as well. Intrigued your thoughts in the comments below. We've also talked about the Durka possibility as well, which is maybe not completely impossible, just because he is available technically from Fnatic if they wanted to have the money to buy him, and Verno and Bonka probably relatively cheap acquisitions because Gen Esports are withdrawing their Valorant project anyway. So, you know, and Verno's a very talented player in his own right. It seems like FNS, understandably as it stands, and Bonka, the new head coach, is making many of the decisions over there, and presumably they need a few more days of practice for them to get clear in their own mind exactly what they're planning to do. But seemingly Verno had done enough in their, you know, trial scrims or whatever, or just done enough in general, because we know that FNS was a big fan of him earlier in the year. Of course, Bonka, the head coach, potentially now on him on this Gen Esports team, definitely going to be a big fan of him as well. So that seemed to be a no-brainer, really. But the final piece, that's a question. Maybe FNS and Bonka are going to work together to figure out what they're going to do, but possibly trials still ongoing in that kind of duelist role to figure out what's going to happen to round out the NRG team, because definitely an organization over the last couple of years that has underachieved what they would have hoped to, given, you know, their base of talent and also the base of the amount of money they've pumped into this roster. Certainly after the Optic Gaming days when NRG picked up the pieces going into franchising, they would have hoped to do better over the last few years than they have done. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. Demon1, of course, was live streaming on X the other day on Twitter. Just to note that it shows on Twitter live streams the views, and that's not necessarily live viewers, you know what I mean? So I don't exactly know how you see the live viewers, but it just counts like total views as they're going up. So the numbers look bigger than they are, I guess, on some level. But, you know, Demon1 was like, yo, you gotta get your rank up, bro. Get on Valorant to let's start grinding type thing. Quickly on Sentinels here before we close out the video. Zekken eating, then stream. So interesting in some ways when the players start to stream again a little bit more, just because when there are trials going on, when there are scrims going on, the players don't get to stream as much as they might otherwise do. And Zekken said the other day that, oh, can't stream today. Sorry, guys, I've got to make sure I keep my job. So they had to obviously do some trials with various different players, and you know, that's what we've kind of been seeing. Now, this was a note last night of Sassy was spotted being away, not actually there in the game, and at the bottom of the screen we can see that Zekken and the other guys, Kaplan, are in a custom game, presumably practicing. So I think this is, and Zeltis as well is here right at the bottom of the screenshot in addition. So I think that's some discussion and conversation on whether this kind of confirms on some level that Sassy's no longer going to be there on their roster, just because we haven't really seen an official confirmation yet, right? Sentinels haven't said what's happening. They haven't said that Sassy's staying or going, or, you know, what the case is. They were kind of hinting after Champions that this was a possibility. We don't know where Sassy's going next. there's all sorts of questions. But, you know, the latest rumour was Narrate possibly as their 5th player, alongside Zelsis, Zekken, Tens, and of course Gen.G, the in-game leader, with Sassy going out the door. And this is kind of the first screenshot that we've maybe seen showing, yeah, Sassy was not scrimming with those guys when they were doing a trial or whatever. So, you know, maybe there's something to read into that. This was another one, though, worthy of note. You guys can see here they're scrimming the Cloud9 guys, Gen.G, Zekken, Kaplan, etc., etc. But at the bottom of the screen, or actually on this Cloud9 team, we can see Vic is here, clearly on this roster. So, T1 Arrow Prince, I think, might still be Rossi. And there's been some rumours what's happening because no Rooney spotted here, but Vic is here instead. So there's been some questions. What are they going to do? Cloud9 from an in-game leading perspective. Obviously, they've got rid of Vanity. Moose is going to stay. Zeppa's going to stay. I thought Rooney staying might make a fair bit of sense, but maybe Vic coming in instead from that MXS team could make some sense as well. So yeah, just another kind of Scrimbucks type screenshot there to keep an eye on. But intrigued to your thoughts in the comments below. And just quickly on Marved, because we know he was on NRG, then he was no longer on NRG, and you know, that's been the big debate really, whether Marved is going to get a spot back in the league on either that roster. Obviously he was on Sentinels for some time as well. He's still scrimming, or still streaming, sorry, but whether he's going to get any scrims or trials with pro teams, that does remain to be seen, especially with how things ended mid-season with that NRG team not exactly in the way that he would have wanted. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.